This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
Well. You are listening to Ravens Flock Talk. We are back. I am your host, Brandon, joined by my partner in crime, my dad. And who would have thought that we will be sitting here under a whole new coaching staff, a historic free agent signing. I'm floored. And I just want to say, first and foremost, this is the excitement that I've been waiting for, that we've been harping about. If you have been listening to the podcast, you knew I wanted John gone after the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. There's no way that you can convince me to come back into this upcoming year with the same enthusiasm as I've had once before with John Harbaugh still here, under the same old regime, the same old after post-game press conferences. There's no way. We needed a change, and I am so excited that I don't even recognize this Ravens team. I don't recognize the things they're doing, and it's like I feel like I'm in a dream now, because all the things I wanted them to do and see, they're finally doing.
Yeah, you're not alone. The whole city is all behind everything, all the change. We've been advocating a change forever on our podcast, a new regime from Harbaugh and Monken, and it finally happened. And I think it took Loop missing that field goal to make things and change in this whole city, to understand that maybe it's time for a change. And it happened. I can't believe, I'm like you. It's almost like a dream, and it's been historic. The last time I felt like this is when Lamar got drafted.
Yeah, it's interesting. I will be the first one to say I was wrong about Steve Bisciotti. I listened to that whole hour-long press conference about John Harbaugh getting fired, and I didn't know really much about him because we haven't heard from him in a long time. And when he was asked, a reporter asked, if Luke made that kick, is John Harbaugh still the head coach? And he goes, for one more week. And that really showed me, he wasn't sold. Yeah. For technically, yes, for one more week he is, but that's no guarantee. That's to say a year from now, 2 years from now. And I love that answer from him, because he knew that this organization needed to change, this fan base needed to change. And I'm glad that they pulled the trigger. And now we have young, new, fresh, hungry talent across this whole coaching staff, and we've been wanting that forever. We had it with McDonald. He's gone. And that was salt in the wound watching him, win a Super Bowl. Of course, I was rooting for Seattle. I didn't want the Patriots, but it's like, man, that could have been us. That was our guy. And so cross your fingers that Jesse Minter hopefully is going to be close to that.
Yeah, well, all around the league, it's now the new talent, the young talent for coaches is what it is about right now. So
young and aggressive too.
Young and aggressive. We don't know what is going to happen for the future with Minter. He, first time head coach. But listen, for me, I don't even care. I just wanted a change. I don't want the old heads up there doing like a Tomlin and a Harbaugh. Those days to me are over. I want somebody new, fresh, getting some new ideas on defense, on offense. It's so exciting to me right now that we're not going to go into another year with the same old coaches.
You know what you're going to get.
Yeah, the whole calling it regime is what I would call it, because it's so bad for us to go into every year thinking, are we going to have any changes? Is Todd Monken going to stand true to his word and stay to the game plan? We never knew. So now it's all exciting. It's all new. And I'm more exciting for not only the team, the team's going to change with free agency, so many players in free agency, but more so, Brandon, I'm just excited about the coaching staff.
Yeah, a big thing for me was, this is a copycat league. I wanted my head coach, whether it's offense or defense, to be calling the plays. That's a big thing that I wanted. I look at McVay, Shanahan, older coach Sean Payton. Of course, you got Andy Reid in Kansas City, Ben Johnson with Chicago. All these guys are head coaches calling plays on their side of the ball. Yeah. And so we're going to have that with Jesse Minter on the defensive side, just like McDonald's doing in Seattle.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing for me. I didn't want another, as they say, CEO type of head coach that just oversees everything, but you don't really know specifically what he's doing during the game, And we didn't know with John. We knew he was going to have bad challenges, mismanaged time clock, going into halftime, blowing timeouts in the second half, all these things that we talked about in the throughout the years in this podcast. And so I'm excited for that. And I will say this too with Jesse Minter. It's a lot of pressure. He's not coming into it like a Cleveland or Tennessee, and you're like, okay, you got 2 years, and then, we're going to be looking to make the playoffs. It's right away, and it's going to be a lot of pressure for a guy that's young, that's never been a head coach. However, he does know this culture. He does know what it means to play like a Raven because he's been here before. So that gives me a little more confidence in that sense that he's been here before, but it is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure. And when you bring in Maxx Crosby, it's even more pressure,
Yeah. And you know what? I totally agree with you. But with Minter, what I heard with the talking heads is that one thing they all said in common about him, he's young, but he's a leader.
Yeah.
And in the interview process, they kept saying his leadership. And you know what? Hey, that's what it takes. And when you look at John Harbaugh, when he's not calling plays on any side of the ball, what did he provide? In the beginning, they used to say leadership, but he didn't really do anything. To me, I mean, it's so, you can be a cheerleader, but for so long. And he had all the players around him to make him successful. And to be honest with you, I do give Brashadi credit, Brandon, because he finally knew there has to be a change. And because you have the talent around you. And in DaCosta's credit, he got the talent around him, and he couldn't get over the hump. So, hey, let's see if Minter can do it, because now with some other pieces in place, we're losing a lot of key players. However, we'll gain it. We'll have people that have to step up and to the challenge, and I am excited about the future for us.
To go off your point, it's like people underestimate the importance of culture, especially in football.
Mm-hmm.
Like basketball, you can just throw some stars out there, and typically you're good because it's only 5 players on each side of the ball in the court. But that's the importance of culture and why the Ravens are always in the mix, because you lose players and you're like, oh man, but you find a diamond in the rough during the draft. And that's the importance of culture, because yes, as we are recording this, we just got news. Linderbaum's gone to the Raiders, Likely's gone to the Giants, Stout's gone to the Giants, and we kind of knew this going in hand, but at the same time, I'm confident in the coaching staff, which is the most important, which we've always harped about, especially you, right? Yeah. I'm confident in them. Anthony Weaver's been here before. Our defensive coordinator, he knows. So, going into this year, too, I was just like, I would just be happy if John's gone. But they did a clean sweep, and I'm like, whoa, that's really what I wanted.
Right.
I wanted Monken gone, John and Zach Orr.
That's what we've been saying.
I know. I'm shocked at a clean sweep.
So for our standpoint, we're happy. No matter what happens, it could be a rough year. Who knows?
Yeah.
We really don't know. Minter, I just hope he embraces the culture of the Ravens and the fans and how we play defense.
Yeah.
And on paper he is. I want to see that intensity. I finally want to see that intensity.
This has been past due, Dad.
I don't want to see John looking like he's lost on the sidelines, like he doesn't even know where he is.
Yeah.
So, hey, we got now a defensive-minded coach, a head coach. I'm so happy about it.
And we got to get that Ravens defensive mentality back.
Yeah, he's young. I want aggressiveness. I want, physicality like the Ravens are known to be and the fans want and have been yearning for.
Yeah.
And Harbaugh and Todd Monken, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And we have been saying that not only week after week last year, but year after year. So
it goes back to the Greg Roman days, and I don't know. I hope Jesse Minter is a coach that holds players accountable, because I felt like that was lacking a lot with John.
That's a great point.
With dumb penalties and stuff. And I know coaching is different. You're not going to get the Mike Dickas of the world anymore. But at the same time, it's like, man, we're get a backbone in a sense. Yeah. This can't keep happening. These crumbling late in games, blowing these fourth quarter leads. It falls on your shoulders as a head coach.
And as I always said, make Lamar successful. Right? Don't put so much pressure on this young guy, okay? Now he's in the league. We can't say he's so young anymore. However, make him successful. Don't put all this pressure on him. And that's, I think that was the knock against Josh Allen and Buffalo. They put too much pressure on him, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen with Lamar. He's a great talent. He's athletic, but make it easier for him. Right, make the game plan and stick to the game plan. By the way, let's stick to the game plans.
The last year, it was just kind of like pulling teeth because we had a bad offensive line, and it was just that's why we cut it off. After week 5, I think, because you could just see how it was going, and we predicted everything. I kept harping to people on the old Instagram page, we're not going to make the playoffs. We didn't make the playoffs. Granted, the way we didn't make it is like kind of crazy, but we end up being right, and like I said earlier in the podcast, I wasn't mad about losing because I knew we were not going to get it done under John again.
Yeah.
It was not going to happen.
Who knows, Brandon, if Luke makes that field goal, what would happen? Would it stay par for the course? Or I feel like because he missed that. Now you said Brashadi said,
that's what
maybe.
I'm saying. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know. But I will say that was the dagger.
But I will say this. Now looking back though, fans are kind of thanking him because it sparked all this change. And now the cherry on top, we're going to pivot right now into Maxx Crosby. Because if he does make that kick, now that first round pick is not as high, and is that enticing to the Raiders at that point? Probably not. Maybe Dallas swoops in and gets him, or at the time I thought he was going to go to Chicago. I know we were in the mix, but I did not think for 1 second that the Raiders, because when have we ever gotten the big name guy? Never.
Well, DaCosta, him and his draft picks, holding on to it. Nobody expected this.
Yeah.
Nobody in the whole city, the whole
country, this is unprecedented. Really, first time in Ravens history.
That was his bio, and now everything has changed.
But listen, first time in Ravens history. This never happened.
We get given
so
up a first
there's nothing
round pick.
we can't go back and say, his history, we did it with this. No, we never did it before.
Yep. And look, we knew, and if you go back to our podcast, one of our themes was we need an edge rusher. We need an edge rusher, okay? And, we had the back end corners and safeties to that we drafted, but we never could draft and a wide.
It goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
Getting pressure on the quarterback helps your corners.
And have a Nate, Wiggins in the back to help, and Kyle. So I just feel like finally we got that edge rusher. We haven't had one since Terrell Suggs.
Yeah, so, I do want to say, though, a lot of people forget he was older and a little bit past his prime, but Elvis Dumervil had a very good couple years with us, but it's been a very long time. Since
we learned from Seattle what a good defense can do and how important it is, and Ravens have always been like that.
Yeah.
We always had our defense first, right, until Lamar came in, and then all of a sudden the offense became the lead and the defense was secondary to it. But now I think the formula around the league is, after watching Seattle destroy things in the Super Bowl, it reignited that how important defense is. And
the past 2 years, not just Seattle, but the year prior with Philly what they did to Mahomes, you know? And to me, it's like this is the perfect fit because, as I mentioned earlier about culture, right? Maxx Crosby is the epitome of what we want to represent in Baltimore. There was people talking about Tyreek Hill. No, not with all his off the field issues, domestic violence, all this stuff. He's not a Raven. Maxx Crosby is a guy that's going to be, first in the facility, last to leave type of guy. He's going to lead by example. And for this young head coach to now have that tool at his disposal, mix him in with Kyle Hamilton, your chess piece, Roquan, and let's cross our fingers. I know you're a bit skeptical, but let's cross our fingers that Matabike comes back. I mean, you're talking about a very, very good defense with a lot of players on on different levels of that defense that can make a play.
And let's face it, in our division, we needed somebody like a Maxx Crosby. Look at the quarterbacks in our AFC division.
Rest in peace
North.
to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, and what happens when you get pressure on a quarterback, including Lamar? When he gets pressured, he's not the same quarterback.
Yeah.
So, with these edge rushers in our AFC North division, being premier, we needed Maxx so bad, and we got him, and it's unbelievable.
And just think too,
threw
Dad.
Everybody off.
I mean, I didn't like the Ajabo pick some years prior. Owe was okay with us, but he wasn't like the guy. I'm like, I just don't really trust them to draft an edge rusher, unfortunately. Yeah. Unless you're like in the top 5, which we never are, right. I just don't see it. Yeah. And so that's why I joke with you years prior, and I off air, I would say, you know what, Dad, if I'm DaCosta, screw them picks. Go get a guy like Maxx Crosby. That's just me just talking. I didn't actually believe they were going to do it, but now this frees up. This is going to help Mike Green, This is going to help Tavius Robinson.
And you know what? Let's face it, with the first round draft picks, sometimes they don't work out, and it takes them 2 or 3 years to really get under their feet with that culture, with the team. Now you got a veteran that can come in there and impact the game right away. And we've always said that, all right, with these draft picks. And then if you go into the second round, now all bets are off. Who knows what's going to happen if you're trying to pick an edge rusher in the second round because you didn't pick him in the first round.
And I never wanted the Ravens to be like the Rams, for example, where they just throw their first-round picks out the door. Right? Yeah, they're always going all in, and that's fine. I'm not saying to be like that, but eventually you got to be a little aggressive. The whole old veteran past his prime and trying to get yourself enthusiastic about it was gone.
I don't know how
the Dez Bryant. I love DeAndre, but they just never used him right. He still could be a premier guy, but the Odell Beckhams, they never use these guys right. I was tired of it. So I love this. And for the people that's still saying Maxx is old, let's pipe down a little bit, because Parsons is 2 years younger than him? I mean, they're acting like Maxx Crosby's 33 years old. Steelers fans, Bengals fans, whoever. To me, that just screams a little jealousy. And maybe they're a little scared and are trying to convince themselves. But we are coming now. We are coming, and this is the guy. I love Maxx Crosby. I am so happy that he's in this organization and that Jesse Minter has various things to do with him and Kyle Hamilton.
On that note, I'm a believer that in terms of age and being old in the NFL, I feel like between 25 and 30 is when they're in their prime, because they're no longer a rookie. They learn the schemes. They learn how they're a veteran at 27, 28. Because at 33, when I say veteran, I mean experience. You have that now. You're not a rookie. You're not in your second, third year. Now you're in your fifth, sixth year of the NFL. It takes a while to get accustomed to the speed and everything else. So, and as far as I'm concerned, Maxx is in his prime.
And we had to make this move, too, considering all the injuries that Lamar had to go through. He's approaching 30. I get it, like, Jesse, this is going to be his first year as a head coach, but we're essentially in a win-now situation, So that's why I said it's going to be a lot of pressure on him. But at the same time, it's like, look at the roster that he's walking into. Like, we got to make a deep – I'm not saying we have to go to the Super Bowl, but – a deep run in the playoffs is probably the expectations, especially after signing a guy like Crosby.
This was the surprise of the league. Let's just face it. Because nobody expected the Ravens to give up 2 first-round draft picks for anybody. And what I love about it mostly, Brandon, is the fact they got an edge rusher. Yeah. If I'm going to give up 2 first-round picks, it's not going to be for a corner. It's not going to. It's got to be an edge rusher that will impact the game like he does. And look at like T.J. Watt, and look at our Myles Garrett. Look at who we have in our AFC,
and the impact they can make on a game, especially Garrett if he was on a formidable team. But I think of the Colts. I think they gave up 2 firsts for Sauce Gardner in the middle of the year last year, and then he ends up getting hurt. And this is a guy that never gets interceptions as a corner. Yeah. So, you know what? If you had to ask me, would you give up 2 for Sauce or Crosby? I think you know the answer. Yeah. And another thing, too, on Crosby that I want to say, this is probably the last thing I want to say regarding Crosby, is that I heard a story that they had pulled him later in the year. Remember, the Raiders at the end of the year, once October hits, they got nothing to play for, right? Later in the year, they pulled Crosby out because they basically said, "Hey, we're tanking for the draft," you know.
Right.
And he was pissed.
Yeah.
He's got nothing to play for, but he's out there competing, trying to win the game, right? And you got to think, late in the game, he's not rushing to get a sack because the team's running the ball to trying to run the clock out, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be in a whole new situation where now you mentioned Garrett or really T.J. Watt with the Steelers, where you get that end the game sack. Crosby's going to have that opportunity now.
And I think it's going to make Roquan have a whole different aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Roquan wasn't the same when Patrick Queen left. I really think he wasn't the same kind of linebacker. But now he's going to be refreshed. Here's another young guy about the same age, I think, as Crosby. Maybe I'm not sure.
He's younger, I believe.
Yeah, he's younger, but in that realm. But I just think it's going to rejuvenate Roquan, and it's going to be really on the defensive side a whole spark they've needed so badly because they didn't have that. And again, let's face it, like, who was our leader on defense? You know, they wanted to make Kyle the leader. Roquan was so quiet-mannered, mild-mannered. Not mild-mannered, but quiet. But I think Crosby may be the leader now.
But you got to think,
to
too.
set the tone.
You got to think, too, you know, my first quarterback I witnessed was Kyle Bowler, right? And I knew even as a young kid, defense is the epitome of Baltimore. And we had Suggs on the edge, Ray in the middle, and Ed Reed in the back. Yeah. Well, we have basically something very similar. With now Crosby on the edge, Roquan in the middle, and Kyle in the back. Yeah. And let's cross our fingers that under Kyle's leadership and what he can teach, that Malachi Starks can really make this huge jump in his second year. And you got Nate Wiggins on the side. So, I mean, that's why I'm like, at different levels of this defense, you got a star.
And again,
if Matabike comes back, you got him in the middle.
Well, that explains the first round draft picks, right? It takes them a while, including Kyle and now Wiggins. You know, it took a while. It's going to take a while, and has taken a while for them all to gel. Yeah. And that's what makes this, to me, so monumental for Baltimore. We've never done it. We got the whole coaching staff changed. Now we're out of the comfort zone that we always have been experienced to with the first round picks. Yeah. And give credit to Costa. He made the change.
And just think too,
he added it to it.
A lot of these guys have been through some tough losses.
Oh,
you know, since joining this team. Lamar's been through it all, right? Mm-hmm. Derek's been through it all with you know, even back to his days in Tennessee. Right? Yeah. So they are all ready to win. Derek, Lamar, Crosby, all those years with the Raiders. Has gone through some heartbreaking losses with this team.
Mitchell back to help.
Roquan has been through some bad losses with this team. So they're all like, you know, and none of them have a ring either, you know. So they're all like ready and thirsty, and that's what I love. And Crosby fits that mold to jump in with these guys and gel right away. And I am thrilled. I can't wait to see it. And this is. I still can't believe it. I can't believe the coaching change and Crosby. And if you're a Ravens fan, you have to be on cloud 9 right now.
I'm just happy for the future. Yeah. Right. Whether we do it next year or not.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
This is a good chance.
That's what I'm talking about.
It may take a while for them to all gel, the coaches, the teammates, because it is.
Or it may not. It may not.
Hey, you know,
it could be they just hit the ground running. But at the end of the day, though. We have the foundation already set. Yeah. We needed to change some pieces, which they've done. Mm-hmm. But the foundation is set, and that's why I'm enthusiastic, because it's not like we have to learn a culture, and we already have that set, you know.
You know what? I think in our division, AFC North, we're going to set a precedence, because our division is always what I'll call, and I can say old heads, you know, just not having a young staff, a coaching staff. All, you know, Harbaugh and Tomlin were, you know, what all the leagues said, they're here for 10, 15 years, whatever the heck it was. And we're like, okay, but now we need a change. We need young blood, young coaches coming in, calling the offense, calling the defense, and that's what has finally happened. I don't want to be a Pittsburgh sitting over here for years saying about our history, right? Cleveland, everybody knows about them. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow is imploding right now, mentally, and he doesn't have an offensive line, and he's been getting beat up. So I never wanted that to be us. I wanted us to grow, to change. And I think that's the beginning of what's happening with the Ravens right now. And I'm glad we're going to be in the forefront of that change, especially in our division, because we got, I think, one of the toughest divisions.
You have to come up with the times too, and this to me, this move made sense because, I'll compare it in a different sport. Like I mentioned, Crosby, he was upset that they pulled him out later in the year, even though they had nothing to play for, right? Yeah. What NBA player is doing that? You think of guys like Kawhi Leonard, I'm not playing today, right? Yeah. And you got a young kid that's a fan of him that traveled, 300 miles to see him, and now he's not playing. Right. And that's the problem with the NBA right now is guys are just opting out to play. This is a guy on a terrible team. Late in the year, he could get injured. He's got nothing to play for, and he was pissed. And I'm saying that's a Raven right
That's
there.
A great analogy because that's what the NBA is doing now. They're losing viewership because they're tanking when they're not doing well and on purpose, and everybody knows it. And all the old heads back.
So what I'm trying to say, and the whole point is the art of competition.
Yeah.
That is what this guy epitomizes.
And it's a culture, like you said earlier. It's a culture. And Ravens need to bring that culture back and that mentality back because we're a physical team. We've always have been in this city, right?
This guy's got the fandom, the stardom, the money, the sponsorship deals, and he wants to go out there and compete like those old school players that we, marvel about. Ray Lewis, Terrell,
Because we feel
he's got that old school mentality.
Yeah, you win in the trenches, and that's been always the Baltimore theme, right? You win in the trenches. Yeah. We're not a flamboyant team, like San Francisco and all that. We're just not. Yeah. And so I want that mentality back. Maxx is going to lead that, I hope, and I really believe. And so, hey, let's see.
And I'm just, outside of Minter and Maxx, I'm excited. Weaver has been here before. He knows the culture. He's going to fit right in. And Doyle on the offensive side, he's young and vibrant. Yeah. Just the opposite of what you said, earlier about Todd Monken being old and the same old thing. Yeah. He's the same age as Lamar, So I am just like, wow. I can't wait to see. This is just insane.
I'm just happy somebody could stick to their game plan if they say what they're going to do. And that's what I'm looking forward to and see if that's what's going to happen. And I don't have to, pray that Todd is going to stick to a game plan. See you, Todd. Goodbye.
Yeah, so it's going to be an exciting year. There's going to be a lot of changes as we're speaking now. I'm sure there's been some moves being made, and as I said earlier, Linderbaum's gone, Stout's gone, Likely's gone. There's going to be changes, but I trust the process. I trust in DaCosta, and I just want to give a thank you to Bisciotti, to DaCosta for this, because we have been yearning for this for a long time, and I'm just happy to see that they knew it was time to pivot, and boy, did they ever pivot.
Yeah, I think Baltimore in general was ready for this change, and I do agree with you. Let's give them credit for doing it.
Yeah.
So fans, let's have some patience. It's gonna, there'll be good times and bad times, but overall, I believe this is the way of the future. So I'm happy. I'm happy as hell right now.
I am too. And happy to be sitting here talking to you about a new regime when it comes to the team that we love so much. So, this was fun. And I'm looking forward to this upcoming season for sure.